Retired Admiral James Stavridis is the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO and now NBC's Chief International Analyst. Admiral, good morning. It's always great to have you with us. So I wonder what you read into this pullback of Israeli troops, at least from one area of Gaza. Still, the invasion of Rafah remains on the table. How much of this do you think is the result of that pressure that was applied this week by President Biden in the phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think a significant amount is a result of President Biden leaning in appropriately on our friend and ally, Israel, but doing so in a very pragmatic way, Willie, simply saying, look, you have got to dial back the military operations here. So I think that's the significant factor. Also, recall the Israelis are largely a reserve army. They've had these reserves called up for exactly 6 months. That's about the time in a U.S. context we would be seeking an opportunity to stand down reservists. And then third and finally, Hala's excellent reporting, the hostages, that internal pressure, I think, is starting to build on Bibi Netanyahu. Let's hope the Israelis do not go into Rafah. Going down to one brigade is a very good sign.
Yeah, 130, more than 130 hostages still being held now for 6 months inside of Gaza. So, Admiral, let's look at the Iranian side of this. We know about that strike from the IDF that took out some of the leadership of the Iranian military inside of Syria. Iran has promised retaliation. They say no Israeli embassy is safe. What do you expect to come here?
The Iranians are pretty clearly telegraphing that they are going to conduct a strike. I'd say it'll be sometime in the next week, if not a bit sooner. Number two, they'll probably move proportionally here, meaning that they'll go after an embassy somewhere of Israel, probably in the region where they have a lot of capability, but it could be in South America. It could be in sub-Saharan Africa. Iran has its tentacles all around the world. So look for a strike, look for proportional. Here's a sliver of good news. What I don't foresee is Iran escalating the conflict here. Iran doesn't want a wider war in the region. They're not prepared for one. So I think it'll be a very proportional, very precise strike against an Israeli diplomatic compound, not a wider war.
Admiral James Stavridis, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. Admiral, we're grateful for your time as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Willie.